The night was quiet in the Nevada desert. Stars filled the sky like scattered diamonds. Hana Kim sat alone in the control room of the Deep Space Listening Array. She was tired. Her coffee had gone cold, hours ago. For 3 years, she had worked at this station, listening to the silence of space. Tonight felt like every other night. Then her computer made a sound she had never heard before. Hana sat up straight. Her heart began to beat faster. The screen showed a signal coming from deep space. It was not random noise. It was not a glitch. It was a pattern. Someone was sending a message to Earth. Her hands shook as she began to record the signal. She ran it through the translation software that scientists had built years ago, hoping for this moment. The software worked slowly. Minutes felt like hours, then words appeared on her screen. The message was short. It said, "To the species of the third planet, you have been catalogued. The harrow comes. Prepare for harvest. You are next." Hana read the words 3 times. She did not want to believe them. But the signal was real. The message was clear. Something was coming to Earth, and it did not come in peace. She picked up the phone and called her supervisor. Within 1 hour, the message reached the President of the United States. Within 6 hours, every government on Earth knew the truth. Humanity was not alone in the universe, and whatever was out there wanted to destroy them. The news leaked to the public within 2 days. People reacted with fear and anger. Some refused to believe it. Others panicked. Cities saw riots. Churches filled with people praying. Scientists worked day and night to learn more about the signal. In Washington, Secretary General Yuna Lee of the United Earth Council stood before the leaders of every nation. She was a small woman with silver hair and calm eyes. She had spent her life bringing people together. Now she faced the greatest challenge in human history. "We have a choice," she said. "We can fight each other while we wait to die. Or we can stand together and face this enemy as one people. I choose to fight. I choose to believe that humanity is worth saving." The room was silent. Then, one by one, the leaders began to nod. Old enemies shook hands. Countries that had pointed missiles at each other for decades now agreed to work together. The world was still afraid, but fear became fuel. Jake Turner heard the news from his small apartment in Texas. He was 42 years old, a former test pilot who had left the military after too many years of following orders he did not believe in. He had planned to spend his remaining years fishing and reading books, but when his phone rang and he heard the voice of General Morrison, he knew his quiet life was over. "We need you, Jake," the general said. "We need every pilot we have. And we need leaders who know how to think, not just follow." Jake looked out his window at the sunset. The sky was orange and red, beautiful and peaceful. He thought about all the people who would never see another sunset if humanity failed. "I'm in," he said. 3 weeks later, Jake stood in a massive hangar filled with half-built warships. Engineers worked around the clock. Sparks flew from welding machines. The sound of hammers and drills filled the air. Humanity was building a fleet. Minho Park was the chief engineer. He was young, only 31, but his mind was sharp. He had designed spacecraft for private companies before. Now he designed weapons of war. "The ships won't be pretty," Minho told Jake. "But they will fly. And they will fight." Jake looked at the crude metal vessels. They were ugly compared to the sleek designs he had seen in movies. But they were real. They were hope made solid. "Pretty doesn't win wars," Jake said. "Tough does." While Earth prepared for battle, Hana continued to monitor the stars. One night, she detected a second signal. This one was different. It was hidden inside the static, like a secret whisper. She decoded it slowly, carefully. The message was from someone called Scylla. She said she was a member of a species called the Valen. She said she was sending humanity a gift. The gift was a file containing the records of every civilization the Harrow had destroyed. 47 species. Some had been peaceful. Some had been warriors. All of them were gone. None had survived more than 11 days against the Harrow fleet. At the end of the file, Scylla had written a personal note. It said, "I do not know why I am helping you. Perhaps because you are the first species to send music into the stars. Every other species sent silence or fear. You sent songs. You sent stories. You sent hope. I want to believe someone can survive. Please prove me right." Hana shared the files with the military leaders. The information was valuable. It showed how the Harrow attacked, how they moved, what weapons they used. For the first time, humanity had a chance to prepare. But the files also showed the truth. The Harrow had never been defeated. Not once in thousands of years. They came, they harvested, and they moved on. Species that surrendered were taken as slaves. Species that fought were destroyed completely. Yuna Lee called a meeting of the United Earth Council. She showed them the records. She showed them the death of 47 worlds. Then she stood and faced the cameras that broadcast to every screen on Earth. "They think we will surrender," she said. "They think we will beg. They have never met humans. We are not a species that gives up. We are stubborn. We are creative. We are brave. We will show them what happens when they threaten our home." Around the world, people watched and listened. Factory workers worked harder. Scientists slept less. Soldiers trained longer. Everyone understood the stakes. This was not about nations or politics. This was about survival. In the darkness of space, the Harrow fleet moved closer. Thousands of black ships traveled through the void, silent and deadly. Their commander, Dren, had destroyed 30 worlds himself. He did not worry about Earth. To him, it was just another harvest. He would learn the truth soon enough. 14 months. That was how much time humanity had before the Harrow arrived. Thanks to Scylla's warning, they knew exactly when death would come. Most species had only days to prepare. Earth had more than a year. It was still not enough, but it was something. The world changed faster than anyone thought possible. Factories stopped making cars and televisions. They started making weapons and ships. Mines that had been closed for decades reopened. Steel mills burned day and night. Every nation contributed what they could. Rich countries gave money and technology. Poor countries gave workers and raw materials. For the first time in history, humanity worked as one. Jake Turner traveled the world, visiting training camps on every continent. He met pilots from dozens of countries. Some spoke English. Some did not. But they all understood the same thing. They were learning to fight for their planet. In one camp in South Korea, Jake watched a young woman fly a combat simulation. She moved with natural skill, dodging enemy fire and striking targets with perfect aim. When she landed, he walked over to meet her. "What's your name?" he asked. "Yuna Choi," she said. "I was a commercial pilot before. I flew passengers to vacation spots. Now I train for war." Jake nodded. "Are you scared?" She thought about the question. "Yes, but I am more scared of doing nothing. My little sister is 12 years old. I want her to grow up. I want her to see the ocean and fall in love and have children. If I have to die for that, I will." Jake put his hand on her shoulder. "That's exactly why we're going to win." Back on Earth, Minho Park worked without rest. He had not slept more than 4 hours a night in months. His team of engineers studied the alien technology that Scylla sent them. It was far beyond anything humans had built. But Minho was clever. He found ways to copy parts of it, to mix alien science with human creativity. The ships he built were not beautiful. They were boxes of metal with engines and guns attached. But they were tough. Every system had a backup. Every backup had a manual override. If the computers failed, humans could still fly. If the engines broke, humans could still fight. "The Harrow have never seen anything like this," Minho told his team. "Their ships are elegant. Ours are ugly. But ugly things survive. Elegant things break." He built 300 ships in 12 months. It was a miracle of engineering and willpower. Workers collapsed from exhaustion. Some died from accidents. But they never stopped. They understood what was at stake. On the last day before the Harrow arrived, Jake gathered his pilots for a final meeting. They stood in a massive hangar. Thousands of men and women from every nation. Their faces showed fear and determination in equal measure. Jake climbed onto a platform so everyone could see him. He was not a man who gave speeches. He preferred action. But today, words mattered. "I won't lie to you," he said. "Most of you will not survive tomorrow. The Harrow are stronger than us. Their ships are faster. Their weapons are deadlier. They have destroyed 47 species. They expect us to be number 48. The room was silent. No one moved. "But they have never fought humans," Jake continued. "They have never seen what we do when our backs are against the wall. They don't know that we are stubborn. They don't know that we never quit. They don't know that we would rather die fighting than live on our knees." He paused and looked at their faces. Young faces, old faces, scared faces, brave faces. "Tomorrow, we show them. Tomorrow, we fight for every person on Earth who cannot fight for themselves. We fight for our families. We fight for our future. And if we die making them remember our names." The pilots cheered. It was not the cheer of people who expected victory. It was the cheer of people who had found their courage. That night, Hannah sat alone in the control room. She watched her screens, waiting for the first sign of the enemy. The stars were peaceful and quiet. It was hard to believe that death was coming. Her radio crackled. A voice came through. Soft and alien. It was Scylla. "They are almost there," Scylla said. "I am watching from my world. The Valen Council refuses to help. They say interference means death." But I could not stay silent. "I had to warn you." "Why?" Hannah asked. "You risked everything for a species you never met." Scylla was quiet for a moment. "Because you sent music. Every other species sent silence. You sent songs about love and loss and hope. I listened to your radio signals for years. Your species knows pain, but you still sing. That is rare in the universe. That is worth saving." Hannah felt tears in her eyes. "Thank you, Scylla. Whatever happens, thank you." "Survive," Scylla said. "Please survive." The connection ended. Hannah wiped her eyes and returned to her work. At midnight, the Harrow fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system. Sensors detected them first as shadows blocking starlight. Then the shadows became shapes, thousands of black ships, each one larger than anything humans had built. Jake stood on the bridge of the flagship Resilience. Minho was beside him, checking systems. Ben Walker, the Marine squad leader, waited with his soldiers in the cargo bay. Every human ship activated its engines and moved into position. The Harrow commander, Dren, sent a single message to Earth. "Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Resist, and you will suffer." Yuna Lee sent the reply. "Humanity does not surrender. Come and see why." Jake smiled grimly. He opened a channel to every human ship. "They've killed 47 worlds because no one stood together. Today, we show them what happens when a species refuses to kneel. All ships, engage." The engines roared. The fleet moved forward. And the battle for Earth began. In the darkness of space, humanity met its greatest enemy. The first shots were fired. The first ships exploded. The first lives were lost. But unlike every species before them, humans did not run. They fought, and the galaxy watched in silence. The first wave of battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, humanity had lost 60% of its fleet. 200 ships turned to fire and metal. Thousands of lives ended in seconds. The cold darkness of space became a graveyard. Ben Walker floated in the wreckage of his ship, holding onto a piece of broken metal. His squad had been hit by a Harrow energy beam. Half his soldiers died instantly. The others drifted in space, waiting for rescue that might never come. Through his helmet radio, Ben heard the voices of dying friends. He heard prayers and screams and final goodbyes. He heard a young soldier singing a song his mother taught him. Then the song stopped. Ben closed his eyes and waited. He thought about his wife back on Earth. He thought about his daughter, only 5 years old. He wondered if he would ever see them again. Then a rescue shuttle appeared. Hands reached out and pulled him inside. He was alive. For now, on the Resilience, Jake watched the battle unfold on his screen. Red dots disappeared every second. Each dot was a ship. Each ship held 50 souls. The numbers were terrible. "We're losing too many," his first officer said. "We need to pull back." Jake shook his head. "If we pull back, they follow us to Earth." Minho worked frantically in the engine room. Power systems failed. Shields flickered. The ship groaned under constant attack. But Minho refused to let it die. He rerouted power, sealed broken pipes, and kept the Resilience fighting. "Come on, old girl," he whispered to the ship. "Just a little longer." But while humans suffered, something unexpected happened. The Harrow suffered too. Dren watched from his command ship as 3 of his vessels exploded, then 5 more, then 12. His fleet was vast, and the losses were small. But losses were not supposed to happen at all. In 30 harvests, Dren had never lost a single ship to prey. Species surrendered. Species ran. Species died. They did not fight back. They certainly did not win. Yet these humans did something strange. When their ships were damaged, they did not flee. They charged forward. They rammed their burning vessels into Harrow carriers. They detonated their own reactors to destroy enemy ships. They died laughing and cursing and singing. Dren could not understand it. His species lived for thousands of years. Death was the ultimate failure. These humans lived barely a century, and they threw their lives away like they meant nothing. "What are they doing?" Dren asked his advisors. "They are dying," one answered. "No," Dren said slowly. "They are choosing to die. There is a difference." He ordered his fleet to pause. He needed to study these creatures. Something about them was wrong. Something was dangerous. On Earth, billions of people watched the battle through satellite feeds. They saw their ships destroyed. They saw their friends and family die. They cried and prayed and held each other. Yuna Lee stood in the command center, watching the same screens. Her face was calm, but her heart broke with every lost ship. These were not just numbers. These were people who had trusted her, people who had followed her into battle. One of her advisors approached. "Secretary General, morale is falling. People are losing hope. You need to say something." Yuna nodded. She walked to the broadcast station and faced the camera. Her image appeared on every screen on Earth. "I know you are afraid," she said. "I am afraid too. I have watched our sons and daughters die in the darkness of space. I have seen their ships burn. I have heard their final words." She paused, gathering strength. "But I have also seen something the Harrow have never seen. I have seen humans refuse to give up. I have seen pilots fly into certain death to protect ships behind them. I have seen engineers work until their hands bled to keep vessels running. I have seen ordinary people become heroes." Her voice grew stronger. "We are paying a terrible price, but we are still fighting, and as long as we fight, we have hope. The Harrow have destroyed 47 species, but not one of those species was human. We are different. We do not surrender. We do not break. We endure." She looked directly into the camera. "Our children will not grow up in cages. Our songs will not be silenced. We fight not because we believe we will win. We fight because this is who we are." Across the world, people watched and listened. Some cried. Some cheered. But all of them felt something change inside. The fear did not disappear, but it became smaller, and the courage became larger. Far across the galaxy, an old Violan named Torak watched the same broadcast. He had lived for 600 years. He had seen the Harrow consume species after species. He had watched civilizations beg and die, but he had never seen this. These humans were dying by the thousands, and yet they spoke of hope. They were losing, and yet they refused to believe they were beaten. It was madness. It was beautiful. Torak felt something stir in his ancient heart, an emotion he had forgotten long ago. Hope. He turned to Scylla, who stood beside him watching the same broadcast. They might actually do it, he whispered. They might actually survive. Scylla nodded, her eyes wet with tears. They are impossible. That is why I love them. Back in space, the battle resumed. The Harrow attacked again. Harder than before. More human ships fell. More lives ended. The cost was almost too high to bear, but humanity kept fighting. They had no choice. Behind them was Earth. Behind them was everyone they loved, and they would not stop until the enemy learned what humans truly were. The Harrow discovered Scylla's betrayal on the 4th day of battle. They traced the secret signals back to her home world. They demanded the Valen Council hand her over for punishment. The punishment for helping prey was death. Torak stood before the council and defended her. He was old and respected, but the council was afraid. They had survived for thousands of years, by never opposing the Harrow. They did not want to change now. She is young and foolish. One council member said, "We must give her to them. It is the only way to protect our people." Torak shook his head. And what people are we protecting? A people who watch others die and do nothing? A people who have forgotten what courage means? The humans are fighting for their lives. They are inspiring the galaxy. And we hide like cowards. The council refused to help humanity. But they also refused to give Scylla to the Harrow. It was a small victory. Torak and Scylla worked through the night. They gathered every piece of information about the Harrow that they had collected over centuries. Ship designs, weapon systems, battle tactics. And one crucial secret, the Harrow fleet was connected by a mental link. Thousands of ships moved as one mind, and that mind belonged to Dren. He was the center. He was the control. If he died, the link would break. The fleet would fall into chaos. Scylla sent this information to Hana through their secret channel. Hana decoded it and ran to find Jake. "I know how to beat them," she said, breathless. Jake listened as she explained. His face went from tired to thoughtful to determined. It was a crazy plan. It required flying through the entire Harrow fleet to reach their flagship. It required boarding an alien ship and fighting through hundreds of guards. It required killing a creature that had lived for 10,000 years. It was almost certainly suicide. "I'll do it," Jake said. "You can't," Hana replied. "You're the commander. The fleet needs you." "Then who?" Ben Walker stepped forward. He had recovered from his earlier rescue. His body was bruised and burned, but his eyes were clear. "I'll lead the boarding team," he said. "I've already died once this week. Might as well make it count." Jake wanted to argue, but he knew Ben was right. This mission needed soldiers, not pilots. It needed people who could fight in corridors and rooms, not in open space. "Take whoever volunteers," Jake said, "and bring them home." Ben nodded. "I'll do my best." The plan was simple but dangerous. The remaining human fleet would attack the Harrow's right side, drawing their attention. A small strike ship would fly through the gap and reach the flagship. Ben's team would board, find Dren, and kill him. Then, if they survived, they would escape in the chaos. Minho prepared the strike ship himself. He stripped away everything unnecessary and added extra armor and speed. He named it the Needle because it needed to slip through the enemy like thread through fabric. 12 soldiers volunteered for the mission. They came from different countries and backgrounds. A teacher from Japan, a farmer from Brazil, a police officer from Kenya, a doctor from Canada. All of them knew they probably would not return. On the night before the mission, Ben sat alone in the cargo bay. He held a photograph of his wife and daughter. His daughter was wearing a princess costume, her face covered in chocolate cake. His wife was laughing, her eyes full of love. Jake found him there. "Scared?" Jake asked. "Terrified," Ben admitted. "But I keep thinking about them. About what happens if we lose. I can't let that happen." "I won't." Jake sat beside him. "You know, I never wanted to be a hero. I just wanted to fly and feel free. But sometimes, life chooses for you. Yeah, Ben said. Life has terrible timing. They shared a quiet laugh. Then Jake extended his hand. Good luck, soldier. Make it count. Ben shook his hand firmly. Watch for the signal. When Dren falls, you'll know. The next morning, the Needle launched. The human fleet began its attack, throwing everything at the Harrow's right side. Ships exploded like fireworks. The Harrow turned to face the assault, and a small gap opened in their line. The Needle shot through the gap at full speed. Enemy fire streaked past it. 2 hits struck the hull but did not break through. Minho's armor held. They reached the flagship in 7 minutes. Ben led his team through the airlock, cutting their way inside with torches and explosives. The corridor beyond was dark and cold. Alien symbols covered the walls. Move fast, Ben ordered. Kill anything that moves. The Harrow guards were waiting. They were tall creatures with gray skin and multiple arms. Their eyes glowed with cold intelligence. They fought with energy weapons and curved blades. The first firefight lasted 2 minutes. 3 of Ben's soldiers fell, but 9 kept moving. They pushed deeper into the ship, following the signal that Scylla had given them. The closer they got to the command center, the more guards appeared. The fighting was brutal and close. Blood splattered the walls. By the time they reached the command center door, only Ben and 4 others remained. They were wounded, exhausted, and running low on ammunition, but they did not stop. Ben planted explosives on the door. On 3. 1, 2, 3. The door exploded inward. The command center was vast and strange. Pillars of light rose from the floor. Screens showed the battle outside. And at the center, connected to dozens of cables and wires, sat Dren. He was ancient. His skin was paper-thin. His eyes burned with power. He looked at the humans like they were insects that had wandered into his home. You are brave, Dren said. His voice echoed through the room. Brave and foolish. Your species will die today. Ben raised his weapon. Maybe. But you're going first, Dren laughed. I have lived for 10,000 years. I have consumed 30 civilizations. You are nothing. You cannot change what I am. Ben aimed at the creature's head. His finger found the trigger. Maybe not, he said. But I can change what you are, which is alive. He fired. The shot echoed through the ship, and across the void, the galaxy felt the universe shift. Dren's body fell without sound. The cables connected to him sparked and died. The lights in the command center flickered. And across the entire Harrow fleet, thousands of minds suddenly found themselves alone. The mental link shattered like glass. Ships that had moved as one perfect unit now drifted in confusion. Commanders who had never made their own decisions did not know what to do. Some ships collided with each other. Others stopped moving entirely. Ben stood over Dren's body, breathing hard. His weapon was empty. His team was mostly gone. But the mission was complete. It's done, he said into his radio. The target is down. Across space, Jake heard the words and felt hope explode in his chest. All ships, Jake commanded. Full attack. Hit them with everything we have left. The remaining human fleet surged forward. Ships that had been hiding and retreating now charged into battle. Pilots who had been afraid found their courage. The Harrow fleet, broken and confused, could not respond. For 3 hours, humanity pushed. The Harrow tried to reorganize. But without Dren, they were lost. Their leaders had never learned to think for themselves. They had always followed the link. Now the link was gone. By sunset on Earth, the first Harrow ships began to retreat. They ran toward the edge of the solar system, desperate to escape. The remaining human ships chased them, destroying as many as they could. When the last enemy vessel disappeared into deep space, a strange silence fell. The battle was over. Earth had survived. On the Resilience, Jake sat down in his command chair. His body ached. His eyes burned from days without sleep. But he was alive. His planet was safe. "We did it," Minho said quietly. "We actually did it." Jake nodded. He could not find words. He could only sit and breathe and feel the weight of survival. On Earth, the news spread like fire. People poured into the streets, crying and laughing and holding each other. Strangers became friends. Enemies forgave each other. For one moment, humanity was truly united in joy. Yuna Lee stood on a balcony overlooking the celebration. She watched the fireworks and heard the songs. She thought about everyone who had died to make this moment possible. The pilots, the soldiers, the engineers, the ordinary people who had become extraordinary. "We will remember them," she whispered. "Every single one." Ben Walker made it home 3 weeks later. A rescue ship found him drifting near the Harrow flagship, barely alive. His wounds were severe, and doctors said he would never walk normally again. He did not care. When his shuttle landed at the spaceport, his wife and daughter were waiting. His daughter ran to him, jumping into his arms despite his injuries. His wife followed, tears streaming down her face. "You came back," she said. "I promised," he replied. They held each other for a long time, not speaking, not needing to. The galaxy reacted slowly to humanity's victory. For 3 days, no messages came from the stars. The other species were shocked. They had watched the Harrow destroy world after world. They had believed resistance was impossible. Now they knew it was not. The first message came from the Violin. Torok spoke on behalf of his people, apologizing for not helping and praising humanity's courage. He offered friendship and knowledge. He offered hope. More messages followed. The Korath, who had been slaves for centuries, asked how to fight. The Sylphen, who had given up their warriors long ago, asked to study human history. The Dreeth, the Vorn, the Palax, species whose names humanity had never heard, all of them reached out. Yuna Lee addressed the stars in a broadcast that was translated into 100 languages. "We did not fight because we were strong," she said. "We fought because we had no other choice. Every species has that strength within them. The Harrow taught you to forget. Let us help you remember." In the years that followed, humanity became something new. They were not conquerors. They did not seek to rule others. Instead, they became teachers. They shared what they had learned. They helped other species find their courage. Human ships traveled to distant worlds, not with weapons but with offers of friendship. Engineers taught other species how to build. Soldiers taught them how to resist. Artists taught them how to hope. Jake retired to a small house by the ocean. He spent his days fishing and watching the waves. Sometimes old friends visited. They would share drinks and memories and laugh about the impossible things they had done. One evening, Hana came to visit. She was older now, her hair streaked with gray, but her eyes still held the same curiosity that had discovered the first signal. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "The fighting, the death, the war." Jake thought for a long moment. "I regret that it was necessary. I regret the people we lost. But I do not regret what we became. We proved something out there. We proved that even the smallest, youngest species can change the galaxy." Hana smiled. "We sent music into the darkness. And the darkness answered." "Yeah," Jake said. Scylla was granted asylum on Earth. She spent her days in libraries, reading human books and listening to human music. She had risked everything for a species she had never met. Now she understood why. One day, a young student asked her why she had helped humanity. Scylla thought about the question. "Because you are impossible," she said. "You live such short lives. You know you will die. And yet you love anyway. You hope anyway. You sing anyway. That is the most beautiful thing in the universe." The student did not fully understand, but Scylla did not mind. Humans would learn. They always did. The Harrow never returned to Earth. Some say they were destroyed by other species who found their courage. Some say they still wander the dark places between stars, afraid of the species that taught the galaxy to fight back. It did not matter. What mattered was what remained. Cities were rebuilt. Families healed. Children were born who never knew the fear of the harrow. They grew up hearing stories of the brave pilots and soldiers who had saved their world. They learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. And on quiet nights, when the stars were bright and the world was peaceful, humanity continued to send music into the void. Songs of love and loss. Songs of hope and joy. Songs that said, "We are here. We survived. And we are not afraid." The signal that shook the galaxy was not the harrow's threat. It was Earth's answer.